Good morning, everyone. I'm grateful for this opportunity to discuss an issue very, very close to my heart, that is caregiving in Korea. Today, I'm going to talk about a new hope with a bit of shade, shifting dynamics of parent caregiving in Korea from 2018 to 2022. We will explore both the progress and the persistent challenges faced by parents in the evolving landscape of caregiving. So the title of my talk is actually inspired by the classic Star Wars film, Episode 4, A New Hope. You know, the rebels managed to destroy the Death Star and found New Hope. And just yesterday, Dr. King here incidentally mentioned that when we first started looking at the care economy in Korea back in 2017, we were like rebels too. Back then, not many people were talking about the value of care. Much like the movie, today's My Story blends hope and challenge. It's also a very personal journey for me, as my son here was born in 2015, when Korea's fertility rate was still above 1. And many of you might know the book Jiweon, born 1982, which was published in 2016. It sparked discussions on gender inequality and the burdens of caregiving faced by Korean women. And in 2018, we, the Center for Transnational Migration and Social Inclusion, conducted our first survey on caregiving in Korea. And the COVID-19 pandemic further raised awareness of the importance of care, and we conducted another survey in 2022. In this time, Korea's fertility rate dropped to 0.75, a sharp decline that has deeply concerned the society. So, alarmed by the drastic decline in birth rate, I spent a lot of time preparing this. The Korean government rolled out a series of policy initiatives aimed at tackling the fertility crisis. These included expanding parental leave policies, introducing Daddy Month to encourage fathers to take leave, and creating family care leave for up to 10 days. Well, did we succeed? Let's go further into the story. Yes, we do see some new hope. While challenges remain, we are beginning to see some meaningful changes. So one of the key shifts we've observed in our data of Korean parents with children aged below 10 is that fathers are beginning to take on more caregiving responsibilities. So between 2018 and 2022, the time fathers spend caring for their children has increased significantly, while mothers reduce their time spent on caring for their children. So this is an encouraging sign of progress, fathers stepping up. As fathers take on more caregiving duties, we are also seeing a corresponding shift in satisfaction. So our data shows that more mothers are expressing satisfaction with their spouse's involvement in childcare compared to 2018. And another very important changes we've observed is the impact of caregiving responsibilities on mothers' careers. I was actually quite surprised to look at this. So in 2018, 58% of mothers reported that their careers were affected by caregiving responsibilities, with 73 of those mothers who said they're affected quitting their jobs entirely. And 9% reduced their working hours, and only 1.3% used flexible work options. But look, in 22, the percentage of affected mothers dropped to 38%, and the number of those quitting their jobs fell to 46%. So this reduction suggests that more flexible work options became available, allowing mothers to remain in the workforce without quitting entirely. Then let's turn our attention to another important shift, that is fathers' increased participation in parental leave. So the government policies designed to encourage fathers to take more parental leave have shown promising results. So in 2015, only 5.6% of fathers took parental leave. And by 2022, that number had increased fivefold. So it's reaching 28%. It's not like a 28% of fathers are taking it, but among the people who are taking it, it's like 20%, 28% is the father. So in addition to parental leave, the number of fathers using reduced working hours for caregiving also increased substantially. So from just 170 fathers in 2015 to over 2,400 in 2023. So of course, the absolute numbers are still very, very small, but this still reflects a significant cultural and policy-driven shift towards shared caregiving responsibilities. And these changes actually show the positive impact of government policies aimed at creating more balanced caregiving roles between mothers and fathers. And the satisfaction with workplace culture supporting work-life balance increased a bit, both for mothers and fathers as well. Of course, we still have a long way to go as women still overwhelmingly handle the bulk of childcare responsibilities, making up 72% of parental leave users and almost 90% of reduced working hours users. Hence the shade. So now I want to play the music of Darth Vader here, like da. But don't get me wrong, it's not. I'm a big fan. I just watched the Star Wars movie very recently for the first time in my life. That's why. So our data shows that mothers are still disproportionately impacted by the physical and emotional demands of caregiving. So these pie charts highlight the heavier burden mothers carry in areas such as exhaustion, lack of sleep, and missing out on life. So for example, 64% of mothers say it's too hard to take care of their child compared to 36% of fathers. And additionally, mothers are far more likely to report feeling totally exhausted at the end of the day. This is like 62% of mothers. And yet, and that's a serious problem, and we all are quite aware of it. But I think there's a more serious problem, is this. So I think the more serious problem is the persistent undervaluation of care work. So whether it's the care provided by parents at home or professional caregivers, care work is often seen as secondary or low status. So this undervaluation has serious consequences, not just for those providing care, but for our society as a whole. So the recent debate surrounding the migrant care work pilot is a good example of this. So recently, Seoul brought in 100 very well qualified domestic workers from the Philippines to provide childcare through a pilot program. And the program was initially extremely popular with a 5-to-1 competition rate. However, 57% of families canceled before the service even started. And politicians argued that the cancellation was due to the high cost, claiming that the migrant workers were too expensive because they were paid the same minimum wage as Koreans. They are insisting on implementing a differentiated wage, continuously pointing to Singapore and Hong Kong, where foreign labor is used at a much lower cost. Okay, but is the cost the real reason behind these cancellations? No, the real reason cannot be the price. People knew the price when they were applying. So the more likely reason is a mismatch between what parents need and what were offered. In our 2022 survey, we asked what activities that parents would like to handle themselves, even if they could delegate them. They'd rather bathe, dress, hug, and feed their child themselves. And now look at what is offered in the job description of these migrant care workers: bathing, dressing, and feeding. So activities, but look at this another one. So activities parents found most challenging and also like to outsource if they have the financial support are meal preparation and washing dishes and all sorts of housework. But mothers later found out that the migrant care worker will only do child-related housework, or if she's have contract longer than 6 hours per day, then they might do quite limited number of other housework, like cleaning the living room. So most importantly, many mothers complain that their service lacks flexibility. I think this was the more important problem. So they found out later that they cannot change schedule. They can only skip the use 1 day of service per month, and they cannot change care worker after the service started. But how can we start the 6-month service without knowing whom we will have and with no chance of change when we ask them to take care of our child?
5 minutes.
Okay. So the real issue wasn't the cost. It was a mismatch between the service and what families truly needed. So it really saddens me and worries me when the discussion about migrant care workers in Korea at the moment is just about the price and how to pay them less. Come on, we have a lot of issues to think about. And I think it's really time that we seriously rethink about care. So it's important to understand these shifted desires. So we need to reflect on we need to really ask why some people still choose to become parents in an era of ultra low birth rate, right? So a father of a 2-year-old I interviewed said, "We are not looking for cheap substitutes to take over our role. What we truly need is flexibility and time to spend with our child." So many Korean fathers truly want to be actively engaged. You might be surprised to learn how many fathers take a day off just to attend a parent-teacher meeting. So in 2018, we asked parents what activities they would like to do more of themselves if they had more time and energy. And they said they want to walk outdoors with their child, talk or play together, and simply hug or hold them. So this desire to spend time together is what drives them to become parents. So it's not about outsourcing child rearing, but about giving parents the time and opportunity to engage directly with their children. So for instance, instead of hiring full-time nannies, we could subsidize housework services or allow more flexibility at work, creating a more welcoming environment for parents. So this is my last slide. So the real question we must ask ourselves as a society is, how serious are we? How far are we willing to go to deal with this demographic crisis? The care work is not just about raising our own children. It's about raising future citizens. If we continually devalue care work, if we consistently fail to recognize its worth, then obviously fewer people will want to become parents. And the future of Korea's demographic crisis, and indeed many other countries' crisis, depends on how seriously we are willing to recognize, compensate, and truly value care work. So this may just be a bold imagination, and I hesitant to say this, but let's imagine together. What if we formally recognize care work of main caregiver, be that may father or mother or grandfather, to acknowledge the critical importance of care work for the society? So what if we create a title like citizen nurturer or next generation raiser, and then imagine providing financial compensation, pensions, benefits, and then we can collect tax from them like any other paid job. These are, of course, just imagination and many challenges to realize this vision and in real life, right? But at the very least, if we talk about it, if we seriously think about it, we would send a clear signal to the society that care work is not just about helping parents or somebody. It's about raising future citizens, and it's about building a sustainable, future-oriented society. Thank you.
And thank you very much for finishing within the time frame.